I love them.
That is fun, Bill, I have to confess. Good morning. Welcome to the April meeting of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. I'm Harold Cannon. I'm the chair, and I will be heading up today's meeting. I've asked Commissioner Jeff McMillan to lead us in our invocation and pledge.
We bow our heads. Loving Father and Creator of all, we come to you today in awe of the majesty and splendor of all that you've created. We're so grateful for the opportunity to help conserve and protect your creation, and hope that you'll provide us the wisdom to make decisions today that will be pleasing to you. Please be with all these fine folks today as they travel going home, and be with our families and bless us all. We humbly give you prayer and thanks. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner McMillan, thank you so much. The next item on the agenda, I have real mixed feelings about, because this is sad for me, and at the same time, I'm excited for this person. But today is Barbara Hayes' last commission meeting, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the commission meeting. But Miss Barbara, would you mind calling the roll for the last time? Okay. Okay, we obey whatever she says, so moving along. It's
Chad Baker,
Here.
Jim Bledsoe,
Here.
Harold Cannon,
Here.
Jeff Cook,
Here.
Bill Cox,
Here.
Kurt Holbert,
Here.
Connie King,
Here.
Dr. Jeffy, Jim Ripley.
Here.
Happy birthday to you. Bill Swan,
Here.
Trey Teague,
Here.
David Watson,
Here.
Jamie Woodson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, you've been provided a copy of the meetings from our March meeting. Are there any comments or revisions that need to be made? If not, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Commissioner Woodson moves for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Watson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The opposed? The ayes have it. We do appreciate all of you all being here today. This is a one-day meeting, which is a little unusual, and our format will be just a little unusual given the proclamations that we're covering. While we will go to committee, we will not have a separate committee vote today, but we will vote as a commission as the whole. We don't believe there are any controversial issues, but should they develop that way, then I reserve the right to go back to our standard format of going before committee first and then the commission. I want to welcome some of our guests. Mr. Boyd Barker, Assistant Commissioner, Department of Ag. It is always great to have you here. Ron Crabtree, Quail Forever. Mike Butler, Tennessee Wildlife Federation. Dave Bueller with the University of Tennessee. And there may be some that I have missed, but that was intentional, because I think you're going to have a role in today's meeting. I would ask everyone to please turn off your cell phone or put it on vibrate or airplane it, whatever works for you. But we do not need to hear duck calls in the midst of the commission meeting, if that is all right. Two other things. Ms. Cheryl, it is great to see your face. I know you have had a long road, but it's good to have you here, ma'am. And I was told, commissioners, that yesterday Bart Carter was with John, where are you? He was doing some teaching at one of the schools, is that correct? And
He was teaching out on the riverbank.
and took a spill, and his knee is not in good shape at all. That's about all we know right now. So we'll be following up on that. Director Carter, are there any announcements or comments you would like to make at the beginning of the meeting?
No, sir, I think not at this time.
Okay. You all will see Director Carter leaving probably mid-morning. The Beretta ribbon cutting is occurring today, and that's exciting, very exciting news for the state of Tennessee to get that facility going. It is great to have them here in our state. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Teague, Chair of the Wildlife Management Committee. Commissioner Teague, it's yours.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, I'd like to introduce Joe Benedict, Assistant Chief of Wildlife and Forestry Division.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's good to be here. Today I have for you on the agenda, the first item is to talk about the 2016-17 migratory game bird hunting seasons and regulations, and this is for final approval. You'll recall that we previewed these last month at this commission meeting. Just a little outline this morning. Wanted to remind folks in the audience and commissioners that we're here at a different time than previously because of a change in the federal regulation process. We have two proclamations that we seek your approval on, Proclamation 1630 and 1631. Again, these deal with all the migratory game bird hunting seasons. And then I just wanted to mention at the end the timing of next year's migratory bird season, commission meetings, and those kind of things. So you'll recall that this year, 2016-17, is the first year that the federal government uses a single process to set migratory game bird hunting seasons. They use the spring 2015, or this past year's, breeding population survey information at a fall flyway meeting to set the frameworks for next year. And so we're here today at the bottom there. After these frameworks are set, states will choose their seasons. You'll recall that last month as well, I shared that historically Tennessee has had three proclamations that deal with all the migratory game birds. The Dove Proclamation, what we refer to as an early and a late season proclamation. So we've changed the two names of these a little bit. The first proclamation, 1630, the title is now Dove, Woodcock, Snipe, Crow, and September waterfowl hunting seasons. And the second proclamation, 1631, is titled Duck, Goose, and Crane hunting seasons. And there's a few other species included in each of those that you see on your screen there. So jumping right into this, there was no changes in the federal frameworks. You'll see that we quote-unquote reused the 2015 breeding population data. That data was used for last hunting season and also was used for this hunting season. There's this 1 year overlap where we use the same data. So really the only changes that we have, most of the changes are just calendar dates. Those items in black there were changes that we did preview last month. And again, going from 2 to 3 proclamations, just to kind of simplify that a little bit. We mentioned moving the rail, moorhen, and gallinule seasons a little bit earlier to coincide with when those birds migrate through Tennessee. A shift in the dove dates, and then also a split in the brant season to align with the Canada goose season. And then also we'll have a commission request about the crane season date, so I'll share that when we get to that. So the first proclamation that should be in your folder is Proclamation 1630, again, Dove, Woodcock, Snipe, Crow, and September waterfowl hunting seasons. This also includes rails, moorhens, and gallinules. So I've got the proclamation here that should be in your packet. This proclamation is written very generically, so that it doesn't have to be opened every year. And the one change I wanted to note to you, if I can get the cursor to show up, is down here at the bottom. We have Virginia sorrel rail and common moorhen and purple gallinule, these bottom two lines. These will be static dates that we're recommending, September 1st through November 9th. So that'll be the same date every year, and most of the states around us have that same time period. So here's a table taking the generic proclamation and putting it into what the dates will actually look like on this year's calendar. The white dates at the top, again, Virginia and sorrel rail, moorhen and gallinules, September 1st through the 9th. And then the wood duck teal season, it's in the same place as it always is. It begins the second Saturday in September and runs for 5 days. And then we have the experimental teal only season, again, September 15th through the 18th. The two other items that we have in the proclamation that have generic dates for this year, the woodcock season begins on the last Saturday in October, October 29th, closes on December 12th, and snipe will open November 4th and run through the last day in February. Dove hunting regulations, again, it's in that early season proclamation now. There's no changes to the federal frameworks. We were offered a regular or a 90-day season this year based on the breeding population. We corrected some verbiage that we previewed last month in segment 2 because of the calendar this year. And then we also adjusted the dates of segment 3 based on public input we received, specifically to hunt more days in December and also to hunt until the end of the framework in January. And someone pointed out that we should go back and look at the May 2014 commission meeting. And so we had staff look at that. And in fact, these changes are consistent with the transcripts from that meeting. And it was a compromise that both of the parties that were here, I believe there was someone from East Tennessee and West Tennessee, and they stated that this was a good compromise for both of their positions. So we appreciate that thought last meeting. So here's the proclamation that's in front of you. It's during the 90-day season. I'll just point out the 2 date changes here. There should be a red line copy as well in your notebooks, but here where the cursor is circling, we changed this. I think previously it said the first Sunday in November, which this year would have been 31 days, and you can see we're only allowed 23 in that segment. So this cleans up that. There's really no change, just a cleanup. And then these dates here, December 8th and through January 15th, is a recommended change that we have, again, based on public input, to hunt until the end of the framework, which is January 15th. So we recommend passage of Proclamation 1630, dove, woodcock, snipe, crow, and September waterfowl seasons, again, which also includes rails, moorhens, and gallinules. I'll pause there and then go into the Proclamation 1631 if that's appropriate.
I have a motion for Proclamation 16-30.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Proclamation 16-30.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the commission? From the audience? Mr. Chairman, I have a motion and a second to adopt Proclamation 16-30.
Thank you, Chairman Teague. I believe Commissioner Ripley made the motion, and Commissioner Baker, is that correct? I'm sorry. Kurt made the second. My apology. If there's any other discussion by the commission?
Quick question, this doesn't cover sandhill cranes, does it?
That's correct.
Does not.
1631 will have cranes.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
So we'll move now to Proclamation 1631, duck, goose, and crane hunting seasons. Again, there was no changes in the federal framework for any of these species. So again, we reused last year's breeding population data. There are some calendar date changes that you'll notice in the red line proclamation in your packet. And we also are suggesting or recommending a change in the brant season to align with Canada goose seasons. So again, no change in this. We're expecting a liberal package, a 60-day season, 6 duck daily bag limit. These bag limits have not changed from last year. This is the proclamation in front of you with this year's dates. The Reelfoot Duck Zone opening date would be November 12th, closes on the 13th, reopens on December 3rd, and runs through the last Sunday in January, which is January 29th. The remainder of the state opens the weekend after Thanksgiving, November 26th and 27th, and again opens December 3rd and runs through January 29th. The youth waterfowl hunting days are February 4th and 11th, 2017. These are the 2 Saturdays immediately following the close of the regular duck season. Excuse me. Just continuing down in the proclamation that's in front of you. Again, these are just date changes for the white-fronted goose, Canada goose seasons, both the Northwest Canada goose seasons and the statewide. And then you'll notice here in Brant, this season will mirror the waterfowl season. I mentioned last commission meeting that no brant have been harvested in the entire Mississippi flyway in at least 5 years, which obviously includes Tennessee. So there was an open period in there where folks could go out and actually brant hunt. We're a little bit concerned that people would go out and try to hunt a brant when there really aren't brant here. We wouldn't expect them to be here. So this allows them to shoot brant incidental to duck and goose seasons. The blue snow and Ross's geese, which are essentially what we call light geese, again, these are just calendar date changes. We did have the first season with the light goose conservation season permit. You'll recall that was a free permit that we issued on the website. I appreciate our IT folks working on that very hard. Got a lot of compliments about that from some of the regional staff, how easy it was to get this free permit. The reason for the permit was to increase the methods that are allowed. No plugs and shotguns. You can hunt until 30 minutes after sunrise. No possession limit. There were some added benefits to that. So you'll see at the bottom here of the slide, there was 252 hunters that registered for this free permit. So we're still receiving their reports back about effort they spent and the number of birds harvested. And we'll compile that into a report and submit it to the Fish and Wildlife Service later this year. So all in all, that seemed to be a success. I didn't hear any negative comments about the new permit. So we were pleased with that. So here's the sandhill crane season dates that we recommend. This recommendation is an agency recommendation to just basically change the dates from last year to this year. So we're recommending opening November 26th and 27th, closing it and reopening it December 3rd through January 1st. Continuing to issue 400 3 permit packs by handheld drawing at Hiawassee. So I wanted to share the rationale that we have for recommending no change. We talked again last meeting that this will be the 4th season, and we had anticipated an operational crane season at this point, where we could expand some of our different methods and things. Because of the change in federal regulation process that causes me to be here today instead of in the late summer, we requested an operational season sort of informally at the flyway meetings, but that was before we actually had this last fall's hunting season. So in September, I said, hey, we should have can we go operational? And they said, well, not really. So further, our points here are that the hunters are familiar with the current season length, the current timing of the season, the number of permits, the hunting zone that things are allowed at. And really, the main point is that there's not really an overwhelming demand for permits. The first year, we did not issue all the permits at the handheld drawing. They were issued at the regional offices on the following Wednesday. The second year, we issued all 400 permits the day of the handheld drawing. Last year, which was the third year, we had 401 people apply. And a gentleman was kind enough to give up his son's permit so that we didn't actually have to do the drawing. So again, one of the reasons that we feel like this is just our recommendation is there's not a lot of demand at this point. Furthermore, we expect changes next year. I fully expect to have an operational season next year. And we expect to expand the number of permits to go to the allowable take based on the Eastern Population Sandhill Crane Hunt Plan. We are not bound to the hunt zone anymore, so we can hunt statewide. We're anticipating computer distribution of these permits. And then furthermore, in discussing this with the region, one of the original reasons that the crane zone is where it is because of the agricultural damage that these cranes do in fall on farmers' fields. And so we want to retain, at this point, we don't obviously have a agency recommendation, but the thought is that we would probably retain those 1,200 permits in that current zone and issue the additional permits in the remainder of the state, or actually statewide. And so our thought, given all those factors, again, not an overwhelming permit demand, hunters are familiar with the system. We know that we're going to change it next year to go to operational and to expand it. And we just thought it'd be simpler for hunters to retain the season one more year, change it next year, kind of change it at one time rather than 2 years in a row. So the commission requested that I develop a draft kind of what the maximum allowed under the experimental framework that we're still in for this year, this 4th season. And so I have for you here in blue what the season could look like. The season could be 58 days with a 2-day closure around the Birchwood Sandhill Crane Festival. That's in the Tennessee Hunting Plan. So the season could be December 3rd through January 13th, which is a Friday, closed for 2 days. You'll see down here at the bottom, January 14th and 15th. Reopening the 16th, and then closing on the last day of the duck season, the last Sunday in January. And so we're allowed, under the current hunt plan, to issue 775 3-permit packs for a total of 2325 permits. So again, this was a commissioner request, wanted to show this to you. And I would just suggest that if you do consider this, that we extend the closure around the Crane Festival to 3 days. We've talked about at staff internally, again, trying to prepare for the operational season, and we would likely recommend next year a 3-day closure around the Crane Festival that would include Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So just for your consideration. So we recommend passage of Proclamation 1631, duck, goose, and crane hunting seasons.
Chairman Teague and Commission, in my desire to be efficient, I'm probably going to confuse you, and so let me apologize. Given the nature of this matter and the potential discussion, this will go before committee first, and there will be a vote of the committee. And then Chairman Teague will bring whatever the committee votes for before the entire commission. So my apology if there's any confusion.
It's no problem. Thank you, Chairman. This is discussing Proclamation 16-31, duck, goose, and crane hunting seasons. Do I have a motion to adopt from the committee? I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question first. Is you gave us the maximum days, or the potential maximum days and the number of permits, but as I recall, the original Fish and Wildlife allowance was for us to have a statewide draw. Is that true? And we elected to have it in Hawaii.
The Tennessee Hunt Plan, which is a written plan that we submitted to the Atlantic and the Mississippi Flyway Council that was subsequently approved, says it will have 2 hunting zones, the current zone as described, and then the remainder of the state will be closed. And I have that here if you'd like to see that. But so
That's what we decided. That's not if we elected to go statewide, would that be legal as far as U.S. Fish and Wildlife, what they would allow?
not for this year, because the hunt plan that we submitted included a closed portion of the state. And so that had to be formally adopted. In other words, the Federal Register says Tennessee is allowed a crane hunting plan as outlined in their hunt plan. So there is a closed zone, unfortunately.
Back up to that last slide you had, please.
Yes, sir.
My amendment, Mr. Chairman, is to increase the number of permits to 775, 3 permit packs, and the dates, December 3rd, January the 3rd, I guess you close it to 12 for a 3-day closure?
Yes, sir, if that's what you
12,
desire.
reopening January the 16th to the 29th.
Could you restate that, Bill?
I would like, my amendment is to increase the number of permits to the maximum allowed, 775, 3 permit packs, which I guess the total, that's 775 people may be drawn.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the dates as shown, December 3rd to January the 12th, and closing for 3 days, reopening January the 16th through the last day of waterfowl season, January the 29th. And the area would remain the same as it is now.
I have a statement. Commissioner Cox, I mean, I'm just asking,
Should we have a second to the?
okay, I'm sorry.
I have an amendment to Proclamation 16-31, which would increase permits for sandhill crane hunting to 775, which are 3 packet permits for a total of 2,325 permits, and extending the season dates to include the portion of the season January 16th through January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I have a second to this amendment?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion from the committee?
Commissioner Cox, if we only had 400 people that even request a permit, what is your reason that you want to go to 775 this year in the?
sure that, why that happened. Second year that sold out and had people waiting, so maybe that's why they were discouraged that they didn't come back and apply. I see no downside if we have 775 and only 400 apply. I see no downside to that. But if you have more than that, you cut somebody off, you're limiting opportunity.
I guess my only concern is perception that we're changing things quicker than what we originally agreed to. I was a chairman when we brought it on, and that's just my concern.
No, actually, because the feds changed the date, we didn't make an official application as far as they're concerned timely. This year, we could have gone to 775. So this is the fourth year.
This is fourth year? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chairman Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a clarifying question. Joe, can you talk us through, like on a side-by-side, the agency's proposal versus this amendment, so we can understand exactly what the differences between the original proposal and this amendment would be? Obviously, 775 is easy, but in terms of the dates, in my head, I need to see it visually, so if you can kind of walk me through that, that'd be great.
I apologize. I should have put these together in another slide that would have been helpful. I'm going to jump back up to the agency recommendation. So historically, for the first 3 years of the experimental season, the season would open with waterfowl season, and it would close January 1st. So again, that was the first 3 years. So this year, the waterfowl season opens for a weekend, November 26th and 27th. We have a split or a closure, and then it opens up December 3rd, which is a Saturday. And again, we've closed on January 1st every year during the experimental season. So that's the recommendation that the agency brings forward. I'm going to skip down 2 slides. And essentially what this recommendation does is it starts at the last day of the duck season, which is Sunday, January 29th. It backs it up 58 days, which is what we're allowed. Again, to start December 3rd, which is the opening day of the second phase of duck season. And then we close for 2 days. Based on Commissioner Cox's recommendation, it would be a 3-day closure, which is actually identified in the hunting plan that we will close during the Crane Festival. It's a 2-day minimum in the Tennessee Hunt Plan. So we're basically the agency's recommendation that follows the 3-year experiment is the beginning, it's about 37 or 38 days of the season, closing on January 1st, corrected for the calendar this year. This alternative is to get all those days, you'd start at the last of the season and come back 58 days. And you'll remember the harvest was down this year because we had a warm winter. So this would help with that if we had a warm winter.
Am I oversimplifying it, that essentially it's all the time past the festival that would be open now that's currently closed in your proposal?
Yes, and also the period from January 2nd through January 12th.
Right.
It would be opened as well, based on this proposal. And we'd lose the front part of the season, and we'd gain it here at the end.
Got it. And even though I've been in these conversations during my time, my memory is hazy on how we initially established the recommendation in the experimental season. I remember that the time beyond the festival, the time of the festival was a very intentional decision. I can't remember why we made the call on the end of it. And so I don't know if any of my colleagues on the committee or commission can recall that, but I remember that being a pretty careful negotiation at the time.
The thing about it is it's such a sensitive issue to so many people in our state. And the biggest thing about the number of permits is that the real problem is just finding a place to hunt. And I think if there's discouragement as far as people not applying, it's because I had a permit the first year. I had no place to hunt, so I didn't use it. So what I'm saying is that, there's so much limited opportunity with the way the season's structured now. And I think if it's not going to make a lot of difference as far as how many people actually pursue a permit, then are we really just stirring the pot by saying, well, we're going to implement more at this time? Now, I'm all for changing it next year statewide, but I'm saying when we're talking about just the Hiwassee area, WMA, I just think that it's kind of a moot point, so it's just perception, in my opinion.
I was chair of wildlife when we instituted this season, and the reason it was that we limited the recommendations that federally was allowed to us was because of It was a heated debate. We put as much time into this thought process and this as we have any species or any decision we've made on this commission, but typically as commissioners, we try to allow as much opportunity when it doesn't have a negative impact on the resource as possible. And if people don't have places to hunt or don't put in, that's very unfortunate in my mind, but I don't feel like it's our decision to not allow them that opportunity. Maybe we can try to do some things to help people have places to hunt or what it may be. But in my opinion, when we made these decisions, it was 3 years, and against my opinion, we made some concessions. We didn't do the maximum amount of days. We didn't do the maximum amount of permits to try to ease some concerns of the negative impact it may or may not have. And it was a 3-year time period which we have finished, and I think it's been an overwhelming success. So my opinion would be if federal guidelines state that we have a certain amount of time or permits, and it will not have a negative impact on the resource or some other user group, then our job is to allow that opportunity, and if people take advantage of it, and which I hope they do, then that's up to the people that are, enjoying the resource.
Mr. Butler, we're still in committee discussions. I was getting tired watching your arm there, so it's coming back to the public, I'll promise you.
Mr. Chairman, are we in committee now?
Yeah.
I guess we are. Mayor, comments?
Yes, please.
I'd like to ask Mr. Benedict, first of all, do you see any negative effect on the resource by increasing the number of permits?
No, sir.
Is the population strong? Is it expanding, for instance?
Yes, the eastern population of sandhill crane numbers have increased for the last probably decade. And our numbers in Tennessee have increased, except for last year, because of kind of a late migration. The counts that we do in early January were down from previous years, but Kentucky's numbers are up, our numbers are typically up, and the overall population number is growing fairly dramatically.
So sort of to sum up, do I understand that as far as the biology is concerned, you and the agency don't have a problem with an expansion of the number of permits?
That's correct. The number of permits is essentially issued by a formula created by a body of biologists, state and federal, based on the biology of the bird and how hunters behave and how harvest is expected, similar to other cranes that are hunted in the central flyway. So our seasons are essentially following the predicted or the expected amount of harvest and the impact that other seasons for cranes have as well, that have been those hunting seasons have been going on since the 60s. So the biology is solid, and it's fairly conservative if you look at it from a population level.
Okay, thank you.